By what name are you known?
There are some who call me Tim.
Welcome to another episode of Timmy Talks, the channel where we talk old school magic. And today we are back in Vienna for more action from Viennageddon. And we have reached the semifinals. And in the semifinals, oh boy, we've got two top tier decks facing each other. We've got Oliver, the local player who's playing Atog, a 3-colored Atog deck. And he's taking on the American player Nicholas, who is playing counter burn with lots of burn. Did I mention burn yet? Both players actually playing with a lot of burn, very ruthless decks here in the semifinals. We could be in for a very quick match here. And yeah, the decks, they look extremely powerful. I'm not surprised that they made it into the top 4 of this event. Remember, we started with 47 players. Now only 4 players remain. 2 of those are going to play against each other here, of course, Oliver and Nicholas. Now, before I start with the deck decks, I've got 2 lovely deck photos of both of these decks. First, a message from the sponsor of this video series, 3-for-1 Trading. 3-for-1 Trading is one of Europe's leading Magic the Gathering retailers. Their online shop has a fantastic selection of high-end Magic cards, especially for vintage, legacy, and yes, old school Magic players. They now exclusively offer my community free, fully insured and fast worldwide shipping on all their high-end singles, full sets, and out-of-print sealed products. They upload new cards every Wednesday and have weekly sale offers and reductions waiting just for you. Use my code TIMMY to get free worldwide shipping on your first order over $500 or euros. Have fun ordering those cards, and thank you 3-for-1 Trading for sponsoring this video. And we are back and ready to dive into the deck decks, and I'm going to start with the player on the left, and that is Oliver. Let's take a look at his Atog deck. And here we see the deck of Oliver. So this deck is an Atog deck, right? But it's got a lot of different elements. It's got some counter burn in it. It has a lot of burn. It also has, the Atog elements. Also has some white cards in here. So maybe just start at the beginning. We see a full playset of Atog. So that's why I refer to it as an Atog build. He's really committed to the Atog plan. Atog, a creature from Antiquity, is a 1/2 creature for 1 red and 1 that reads sacrifice an artifact and Atog gets +2/+2. And you can do that as often as you want. So if you want to sack 4 artifacts, that's fine. And this is exactly why Atog is so good, because you can turn it sideways and your opponent can think, okay, if I don't block it, how many artifacts does he have? Wait a minute, he can deal 10 damage in one swing, and you kind of feel obliged to block. The Atog is the kind of card that just puts you in a difficult position. And of course, it works really well in combination with not just artifacts, but also a very aggressive plan. Like, the lower you can get your opponent, the better the Atog becomes, right? Because then all of a sudden, each attack with the Atog could be lethal, and your opponent is forced to block, has to find a solution to deal with the Atog. So if we're looking at this deck, what does Oliver want to feed the Atog? Well, first of all, he's playing with all the 5 Moxens. So that's already a nice little snack for the Atog, right? Especially in this deck where you don't need that many mana sources. So there can always be a moment where you go, you know what, I can just start feeding my Moxen snack to my Atog. So playing all the Moxen Atog is kind of a no-brainer. And then he's also playing a 4 Black Vice. 4 Black Vice is also a thing you see often with people playing with 4 Atogs. The Vice, of course, being quite a good card, it can function as an early lightning bolt. It's an artifact for 1, and it says the target opponent takes 1 damage for each card above 4. So that means if they have 7 cards in hand, they take 3 damage, right? That's a free lightning bolt, basically. And the good thing is when you combine it with Atog, if you play it later on in the game and your opponent has maybe 2 cards in hand, so it basically does nothing, you can still sack it to the Atog, and it can, pump the Atog. But, that being said, this deck also plays with Time Twister and with Wheel of Fortune. So those 2 cards, of course, go hand in hand with the Black Vice as well, especially when you have multiple Vices and then play a draw 7. That can be, very tough for the opponent. And then he's combining Black Vice with Ankh of Mishra. And this is a very old school combination. I remember seeing this back in '95 when I played Magic. Ankh of Mishra, a card that says whenever a target player, or not target player, just a player plays a land, he or she takes 2 damage. So the thing here is that when you play Ankh of Mishra, you as an opponent you don't want to play lands out anymore because that hurts you. But if a Vice is out as well, you want to empty your hand. If you want to empty your hand, you have to play out lands. So it's kind of like a catch-22. Whatever you do, you're going to get hurt. And that's exactly what, of course, Oliver wants with this very aggressive Atog deck. Then when we look at the other cards, we also see 3 Surrender Befriets and Isuchi. Those are the other 4 creatures. And, of course, 4 Mishra's Factories. Again, kind of a no-brainer. And especially in a deck with Atogs, it gets even better, right? Because and it's land, and it's a creature, but it's also an artifact creature, so you can even sack it to the Atog and pump the Atog with your factory. It makes combat math even more difficult for the opponent, right? When you're swinging in with 2 Atogs and a bunch of, Mishra's factories and some other artifacts that you've laying around. It's just really difficult to do all the maths. And then we also see, of course, burn. We see 4 lightning bolts, 3 psionic blasts. So this is just a very aggressive deck. Of course, we see the blue power, and then there's a card that I really like in this build, and I'm happy to see you playing it, Oliver, because it's a card for me as a Timmy that gives me a warm feeling. Most of these, top tier decks, I don't really get excited about the decks, but there are always a few cards that some people play that get me excited. So seeing you play with Hurkyl's Recall really makes me happy. Hurkyl's Recall is a card from Antiquity, an instant for 1 blue and 1 that reads, target player takes all the artifacts back into their hand, right? So you can target yourself to kind of maybe save your artifacts if your opponent is playing a Shatterstorm or a Disenchant on your key enchantment. But you can also play it on your opponent on end step, forcing him to discard some stuff, or, because you want to deal damage with your Black Vice. So Black Vice and Hurkyl's Recall, it's a really nice combination. You don't see it that often, so I think it's really cool, Oliver, that you're playing it. And apparently it's good. Let me know in the comments how Hurkyl's Recall has worked out for you. Hopefully we get to see it in action in the semifinals today. And then there are, of course, a few other cards I want to highlight, and those are the white cards in the deck. He's playing with 4 white cards in total, and they all have a reason why they're in here. Now, first of all, I would like to start talking about the Armageddon. So we can see an Armageddon with so many scribbles on it. What happened with that Armageddon? Well, actually, it was the prize card of last year because Oliver won the tournament last year. So that's why it's in there. And of course, Armageddon, it's a good card in this deck. I think Armageddon, a one-off in most decks, is a good card. Then we see Balance. We don't really have to explain that. And then we see 2 Disenchants. And I think Disenchant is a reason for a lot of players to splash white because it's so good. I mean, 1 white and 1 for an instant that can destroy target enchantment or artifact. That is so much value, right? And I think in this deck, where you're playing with Atogs and Surrender Befriets, you need a weapon against, for example, the Abyss, right? The Abyss is a really good card against this deck, at least against the creature base. I mean, it's not a really good card, but you know what I mean. It takes care of the Atogs, takes care of the Surrender, so you take care of 7 creatures, which is not really cool, of course, when you're Oliver. So having that Disenchant there can really help you. And remember, it's also playing Demonic Tutor, so basically you're playing with 3 Disenchants. If you really need it, you can use your Demonic as well to pick up that Disenchant. So, yeah, what more can I say about this deck? It's looking like a very strong deck, but Oliver, you're also playing against a very strong opponent. Let's take a look at the deck of Nicholas. And here we see the deck photo of Nicholas, and we can see it spells out burn, right? So it's obvious what he wants to do, what his strategy is. Burn your opponent, play mega aggressive. I think a lot of Americans, in my experience, enjoy playing very aggressive decks. I think Eternal Central, which is a format that's popular over there, is also a very, aggro format. And this is also proof that you can play very aggro in the Swedish format. A lot of people think that the deck always wins in Swedish. The deck is definitely very good in Swedish, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't win all the tournaments. There are a lot of tournaments that are being won by different decks, like this one actually. Counterburn, not so long ago, won the Raging Bull series. So it's definitely possible to win with a deck like this. And I would say this is also a Counterburn deck, more maybe so a burn deck. It's super aggressive, but we do see some counter spells in the deck as well. We see 3 counter spells, and we see a mana drain here. So 4 counter spells in total. And then we're just seeing a lot of burn, right? This is a 12 burn deck, I think. Let's check it out. Well, actually, we see 3 Psionic Blasts, 4 Lightning Bolts, 4 Chain Lightning. So that's 11 direct damage spells instead of 12. So it's not a 12 burn deck, it's an 11 burn deck. Then we also see a full playset of Surrender Befriets. We also saw Surrender Befriets in the deck of Oliver. Then we see 3 Suchis. We saw only 1 Suchi in the deck of Oliver. So there are some similarities, right? Both players playing with the full playset of bolts, both players playing with 3 Psionic Blasts. But here we see counter magic. We didn't see counter magic in the deck of Oliver, and also the deck of Nicholas. It's got a little bit more burn because of those 4 Chain Lightnings, but also it's got more creatures, right? Because it also has the Surrender Djinn, the card I really love in this deck, by the way, Nicholas. So cool you brought Surrender Djinn. And of course the 3 Suchis that I mentioned earlier, and the 4 Surrender Befriets, and of course also the 4 Mishra's Factory. So yeah, just a very, very aggressive deck. Again, I'm not surprised that it made it here into the top 4. This just looks very, very strong. And to be honest, after seeing these two decks, I have no clear favorite. I think they're both awesome and very strong tier 1 decks. Maybe it's nice before we start with the match to just quickly highlight the Serendipian. So Serendipian is a 2 blue and 2 for a 5/6 flyer, right? That's pretty amazing. But during your upkeep, you have to sacrifice a land. And if that land is an island, you take 3 points of damage. But I mean, who cares? Because you only need a few swings with your Serendipian and of course some direct damage, and you win the game anyway. That's probably how Nicholas is thinking. I really think that a one-off Serendipian can really work in this deck. And the fact, Nicholas, that you made it to the semis proves that, right? Maybe you want to let me know in the comments how often you've used the Serendipian. I think it's a beautiful card. I've got 2 copies myself, thinking about building a deck around it with land text. So yeah, I would love to hear from you, like, what was it like to play with the Serendipian? Did you board it out often? Or has it been like really a game changer? Or didn't you just, maybe you just didn't see it the whole day? That happens sometimes as well. Anyway, would love to hear from you. This is the deck of Nicholas. We've already looked at the deck of Oliver, so that means we are ready. Let's go to the semifinals of Viennageddon. Enjoy. Game number 1 of the semifinals of Viennageddon is about to start. On the left, we see Oliver, the reigning champion, the defending champion, I should say, with the Mega Man sleeves. He's playing Atog. And on the other side, we have Nick, the American player, Nicholas, maybe I should say. And he is playing with Counter Burn, with the emphasis on burn, playing lots of burn. Look at that hand of Oliver, by the way. Time Walking hand and a Library of Alexandria. That's a very good hand. Nick here on the play, starting with the Volcanic Island. And there we see that Library of Alexandria. So that is pretty devastating here for Nicholas. Oh, but he's also finding a library. Oh, but there's a Vice from the top for Oliver. This Black Vice is going to be so good against the library of Nicholas. And I'm expecting Oliver here to play it out. Probably going to drop this duel and then play out a Vice. Going to tap it. Yep, there's the Black Vice. I mean, Black Vice, it's one of those cards that people don't think about when you're thinking about answers to a Library of Alexandria, but actually Black Vice is one of those answers. Another nice one is Underworld Dreams. Just punish your opponent for having a lot of cards. It really works. And now Nicholas is in a bit of a pickle. He's going to take 2 damage first from the Vice, drop to 18, going to draw card number 7. And he is going to draw card number 8, which is understandable for now, but I wonder how long he can keep that up. Has 2 blue open now, and I believe I also saw a counterspell in his hand. And Oliver here untapping and drawing a card for turn. So he's got 9 cards in hand again. There we see the Mishra's Factory, going to tap 2. And there's a Time Walk, so it's going to take an extra turn. Or, yep, he's going to counter here. Nicholas decides to counter away this Time Walk. There's the pass, so that means that he's again going to take 2 points of damage, dropping to 16. Going to draw a card for turn, so that's 7 for him. Can again draw card number 8 if he wants to. And I mean, Library, of course, in any deck really good, but in Nick's deck it's also really strong because he's playing with so much burn, so he can use the Loa to keep picking up burn spells, right? And basically burn Oliver out, but I think he's now going off the Loa train, which is also understandable because of that active Vice. So playing out a Serendip, free tier, passing the turn, and Oliver drawing a card on end step. Going to draw card number 9 now. And I mean, Oliver has a lot of answers here to this Serendip. Ifrit can simply fire off a Psionic Blast, for example, has 2 in hand. There's another duel, going to tap 3. There we see the Psionic Blast, so that means the Serendip Ifrit is dead, but it also means 2 damage for Oliver. So he's going to drop to 18. And Oliver passes the turn back to Nick, and Nick here on end step, firing off a Lightning Bolt. And I believe that means that he's out of the Black Vice range. Yep, 4 cards in hand for him, so not taking any damage from the Vice. There we see a Mishra's Factory. And there's a pass. So again, Oliver on end step, drawing a card for turn. So many cards here for Oliver, and eventually you would expect Oliver to get the win through that Loa because he's drawing simply so many more cards than his opponent. On the other hand, Nicholas, of course, is playing a super aggressive deck. And his plan is probably to just try and burn out Oliver. There we see a Chaos Orb hitting the board. And it looks like Nick is going to counter it here, tapping 2 blue, or we're going to see a counter spell. There's the counter spell countering away the Chaos Orb. So the counterspell's doing work here for Nick. And look at this, a double bolt, 6 damage to the dome. So we see Oliver here dropping to 9 at the semifinals. First game. And I have to say, it's pretty entertaining. When I saw that turn 1 Loa by Oliver, I thought, okay, maybe it's just going to be very one-sided. But it's very interesting. And now Nick has, I believe, a Wheel of Fortune in hand. So could cast a wheel now. And I don't see any counter magic. Yep, there's the wheel. And I think this is going to resolve. Oliver doesn't have a counterspell, I think. I believe I see 2 Psionic Blasts in hand there. Some white cards and 2 bolts. And I guess Oliver can now kind of fire off a bolt if he wants to on the life total of Nicholas. Could also go for Psionic Blast, but then he has to tap out. Decides to do neither. I'm a little bit surprised. I'm sure he has a reason for it. So I'd rather have access to his Volcanic Island instead of tapping it for a red and firing off that lightning bolt. So prefers to have more mana available. And here we see Nicholas also drawing his 7. And the fact that his wheel has resolved is really giving Nicholas a chance to win this. I mean, he's still on 16, which is pretty high up. And Oliver, I mean, he's already on 9. He's going to tap 4, so he's going to take a damage, right? Going to drop to 15, I believe. Yep, going to take a damage, going to drop to 14. Not sure why. I think he should go to 15. And look at this, a Mind Twist. So this is a Mind Twist for 3. Right, so going to play a Mind Twist for 3. Oliver drawing an extra card for turn, so he's up to 8. He's going to lose 3 cards here to the Mind Twist. Let's see what 3 cards he's going to lose. This can be a very important moment here in game 1. So these 3 cards are going to go. Let's see, 2 lands and a Mox. Yeah, that's not great for Nick. You're not really finding the heavy hitters. We also see a Time Twist there and another Vice for Oliver. And a lot of Serendips, right? 2 Serendip Efreets in hand for Oliver. Both players playing with Serendip Efreets here in the semis. So I wonder what Oliver is going to do. I mean, is he going to try just to, you know, play out his hand very quickly and then play Time Twister to refill it, you know? And then have that active Library of Alexandria. Again, that could be a strategy. The problem, though, is that you're then also giving Nicholas, of course, new cards. Here we see another Black Vice. And there we see a Serendip Efreet. And another... Nope, not another. Okay, he's going to go for Time Twister. Oh, and I'm liking this. This is very spectacular. And it also means that Nicholas is probably going to take 6 points of damage next turn. Because, of course, he's got to draw 7 fresh ones. And he's going to take 6 in upkeep, going to drop to 9. But it's also very risky here from Oliver. Because remember, Nicholas is playing 4 Chain Lightnings, 4 Bolts, and I believe also 3 or 4 Psionic Blasts. You know, so that's a lot of burn. So maybe Oliver is just writing his own death sentence with this Time Twister. But I really like it. I mean, it's action, you know. I love a card like Time Twister, and I love a card like Wheel of Fortune. It's a bit of a gamble, but the payoff can be really, really, really good. So we see Oliver here drawing 7. Another Black Vice found. Ooh. And he has a Black Lotus, so could drop the Lotus, play a Vice and double Bolt. Yeah, he's going to play the Lotus, sack the Lotus immediately. That's exactly what he does. Double Bolt. Oh, Nick is going to die. Another Vice. Oh, untap. He's dead. Oh, wow. This is crazy. This is crazy. This was the nuts for Oliver. This is exactly what Oliver needed. You know, because it was a big risk. Oliver, you're on 9, man. If Nick finds the right burn and you don't find that Vice and you don't find the Lotus and you don't find the double Bolt, then Nicholas would have had a full turn to try to get you from 9 to 0, which is not that uncommon to happen with his type of deck. Anyway, very spectacular game 1. Now both players are going to dive into their sideboards, and I'm hoping that game 2 is just going to be as spectacular. Game number 2, here we go. So 1 game up for Oliver. That means that Nick is going to be on the play here, drawing his 7. I believe Oliver is keeping his. Let's see if he's going to keep his 7 cards. And there we can already kind of have a sneak peek into the hand of Oliver. There we see a Mox Ruby. Okay, it looks like he still has to... Oh, he's got to put 2 cards down. Ooh, so he took a double mulligan. That is heavy for Nicholas. Double mulligan for him. Moxed Ruby, starting with a duel. There's a Lotus, cracking the Lotus. What are we going to see here? What is he going to do with the Lotus mana, I wonder? Oh, there we see a Time Walk. And oh, look at this hand. That is insane. This is insane. What did we just witness? This is nuts. This is so good. I mean, you think, okay, Nicholas is down a game, starting game number 2, taking a double mulligan. You're like, okay, he's almost toast, right? And then you think, okay, he's got the Time Walk. Whatever, you know, but then Time Walk into Time Twister. That is really, really good. So just to recap what we just saw, we saw a Mox Ruby, a Badlands, then we saw a Black Lotus. So cracking the Lotus for 3 blue, using one of those blue mana for Time Walk and tapping the Mox Ruby, so having an extra turn still, and then casting the Time Twister with the 2 blue mana still open from the Black Lotus, and of course the mana from the Badlands. So this is ideal, and of course for Oliver also really bad news. Had a pretty good hand there, and now he's just going to draw 7 and doesn't have the option to take a mulligan here. Just has to accept whatever he can find, and okay, does find a mana source at least. There's a dual land for Oliver. Let's first see, of course, what Nick can do, because now he's going to take his extra turn. Untap, upkeep, and draw. Yeah, this is so good for Nicholas. He's going to play out a Mishra's Factory here, another Mox Sapphire. Yeah, let's see if he can find a creature. Going to tap 4. There we see a Suchi, so the 4/4 creature from Antiquities. When it dies, you get 4 mana, and of course this creature is very popular in the Swedish format because there's no mana burn. And now Oliver has some options. He is finding another duel, which is quite nice. So now he's got 2 lands in hand. Has that Swords to Plowshares in hand, but also has a Disenchant. Could choose to just play out a duel and a take 4 from the Suchi to disenchant it later, but goes for the Swords to Plowshares immediately. So Nicholas is going to go up to 24 and passes the turn back here. It also means that Nicholas can kind of attack here with the 2/2 if he wants to. Could animate that factory for some damage. I believe I also see a Surrender Befreed Enhancer is going to animate attack for 2. Oliver dropping to 18, and there's the quick pass by Nick, so no more pressure for him on the board. Perhaps some burn on end step, also no burn on end step, and Oliver just playing a land, passes the turn, found another duel from the top. He's going to attack for 2 again. Are we going to see a disenchant here, or of course that bolt is also an option? Going to go for bolt. Is Nicholas going to protect it? That's the question. Going to tap a blue. There's a blue Elemental Blast. So protecting the factory here. Oliver dropping to 16, and Nicholas passes the turn here. Another land, tap 3. Okay, there's the Surrender Befreed. Are we going to see a counter spell? No counter magic. Of course, Nicholas has more answers. Also has Psionic Blasts in the deck. So an option could be here to go Psionic Blast and then attack for 2. Looks like he's going to do something else. Okay, he's going to play a Terror. So boarded in Terrors from the sideboard, I think. Doesn't attack here. Ooh, I'm surprised. So wants to keep counter magic open, I guess, or else he would have attacked for 2. So keeps the 2 blue open. There we see an Atog. Are we going to see a counterspell here? If he plays a counterspell, Oliver has that red Elemental Blast to protect it. But we don't see a counterspell. And of course, Atog not as scary yet because Oliver doesn't have any artifacts to sack to it. There we see a bolt. Cleaning up the Atog, and he's going to animate and attack here. Or we're going to see a Swords to Plowshares. We are going to see a Swords. Are we going to see counter magic? And we're going to see a counter spell here. So 2 more points of damage for Oliver. So that factory of Nicholas is really doing a lot of work. And I have to say that Nicholas is doing a great job keeping it alive. And look at this, Oliver not finding lands, finding a Suchi instead. Cannot play it out though. Passes the turn here to Nicholas. Nicholas going to play a Black Vice. 4 cards in hand, I believe, for Oliver. So he's not going to take any damage yet. Going to attack for 2. There we see a Disenchant. And again, a counterspell. But there we see a red elemental blast, and it finally dies. I mean, Nicholas, you did such a great job protecting it, but the day had to come, right? Another Psionic Blast found by Oliver. So, I mean, yeah, Oliver not really having the hand that he wants. Needs that one land to start casting that Suchi. But also Nicholas being unable to put pressure on. And now he can play out the Suchi. Suchi by Oliver dropped here because he found a land from the top. What are we going to see? Yep, Psionic Blast here. So that means 2 points of damage for Nicholas. So he's going to drop from 24 to 22. Untap, upkeep, and draw. There we see a Mox Jet. And I believe only 2 or 3 cards in hand for Nicholas. And 3 cards in hand also for Oliver. Finding an Ancestral Recall. Oh, that is always sweet. That is always really nice. Finding an Ancestral from the top. And now Oliver could even consider trying to go up to 7 to get an active Library of Alexandria. Has 5 cards in hand at the moment. Also found a red card there. Is that a Wheel of Fortune? That could be interesting as well. Because if that's a wheel, yeah, it's a wheel. A part of his strategy can also be empty my hand as quickly as I can and then wheel. Of course, Nick does have, and I think that's what he's going to do. Of course, Nicholas does have that Vice. So Oliver here dropping to 12. And Nicholas taking 4 damage from the Psionic Blast. So he's going to drop to 18. And it looks like Oliver is slowly taking over this second game. And remember, he's already 1 game up. So if he wins this, he's back in the finals again. So that would be 2 times in a row. We're not there yet, of course. He's on 12 at the moment, passing the turn here to Nicholas. Nicholas on 18. Also just passes the turn, though. That is unfortunate. So I guess Nick is not really finding the firepower that he needs here to attack the life total. There we see a Psionic Blast by Oliver on end step again. So he's going to drop to 10. And Nicholas will then drop to... Well, if it resolves, of course, it looks like he wants to do something in response. Okay, also going to play a Psionic Blast. Okay. Blasting away. So Oliver dropping to 10, then taking 4, dropping to 6. That's quite low. And also Nicholas here taking 6 points of damage. So he's going to drop to 12. So 12 versus 6. And that 1 card in hand for Oliver, or 2 cards in hand. I guess he dropped 1. He's going to play a Lightning Bolt. So much direct damage here from both players. Going to play a Lightning Bolt, I believe. And look at that, another Psionic Blast. Ho ho! They're just burning each other like crazy. So Oliver now on 2, but look at the life total of Nicholas. Nicholas on 7. I mean, his life total dropped fast as well. Both players quite low. And I mean, is Oliver going to go for that risk again? We saw it working out really well for him in game 1 when he went for the Time Twister. I mean, Oliver is quite a spectacular player if he wants to be. So I wonder if he's going to play out the wheel again. Both players now checking the life scores. And that makes sense, of course. They've been playing so much direct damage and quite quickly as well. And I think Oliver here has a different life score than Nicholas, and they're discussing it right now and trying to figure out who's right and what's what. So Nicholas here on 7 and Oliver here on 2. And I think that's correct. But I'm saying I think. I'm not saying I know it's correct because I'm not 100% sure. But it looks like both players agree upon these life totals. So 2 for Oliver, and now he's taking his turn. Ooh, red elemental blast. I mean, his plan is, of course, was to fire off that wheel, but that was when he was still higher in life. I mean, the wheel can be disastrous for him as well. He is going to fire off the Wheel of Fortune. Yeah, I love this. I really love this. And we had another bolt in hand here, by the way, for Nicholas. So that bolt could have given him the victory, but doesn't have a red to play it out. Wow, wow, wow. There we see a Vice and a Disenchant. So could go here for a land drop. Okay, first going to draw an extra card. Finding a Strip Mine. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're on 2 or 1. So you could use that city. You could drop a land, play Vice and Disenchant to take care of the Vice of Nicholas. I think it's kind of what you have to do, right? And I wonder what other card he has there. Okay, also has Ankh of Mishra as an option, it seems. I believe I saw a Disenchant there. Maybe I'm wrong, though. There we see the Vice. Gonna tap 2, so gonna drop to 1. And who's gonna play Ankh of Mishra? Untap. Upkeep. Yeah, it's gonna take some damage from the Vice. It's gonna drop here to 4, take 3 points of damage from the Vice. Gonna draw a card for turn. He just needs some burn. If he's got some burn, then he has the game, and then we're gonna go to a game 3. But does he have burn? That is the big question. What a nail biter here. What a match here. The semifinals. I'm really enjoying it. Nicholas, do you have burn? I guess the answer is no, or else he would have played it out already, knowing that Oliver's tapped out. But of course, Oliver has 5 cards in hand, so that Vice is also looking very bad for him. He's trying to decide what to do. We see a Shatter there also for Nick, so could Shatter away the Vice, of course. Or maybe the Ankh, you know, depending on what he has in hand. And you see that he's quite frustrated. It's like, I'm so close, you're on 1, and I'm not seeing any burn. What's going on? Trying, it looks like he wants to play out 3 cards, so he's out of the Vice zone, I guess. Then again, he's got 8 in hand right after the draw. There's a Chaos Orb in there as well. Gonna tap 2. What's gonna happen here? This is gonna be such an interesting turn. I mean, he doesn't have burn, right? Or else he would have just slammed it on the table. Gonna untap again. He's got a Shatter in there, so could Shatter the Vice. But maybe he wants to keep the Shatter to potentially kill the Mishra's Factory. So if he has a Shatter, doesn't have to use it now, of course. The thing, though, is that Oliver stepped out right now. So it's kind of a safe Shatter to play right now. You don't have to worry about any counter magic. Untapping again. So Nicholas really in the tank, and that's understandable. Okay, he's going to go for the Shatter on the Ankh of Mishra. So the Ankh is gone. Then he can play out a land without taking any damage. He's going to play out a Factory. So that's also a potential blocker for when Oliver attacks with his Factory. And I believe I'm also seeing a Chaos Orb there in the hand of Nicholas. Yeah, this is going to be very interesting. Checking Oliver's graveyard here, probably wanting to know how many Psionic Blasts are in there, because remember, Nicholas is on 4, so 1 Psionic Blast can kill him. Of course, it'll kill Oliver too, by the way, so you would have a draw, right? Anyway, let's first see what Nicholas can do. He's going to tap 2. Okay, there we see the Chaos Orb. So Chaos Orb on board. 5 cards left in hand. There's the pass by Nicholas. Untap. Upkeep. And I guess he can stack it in a way that he can play his Disenchant, right? Before he takes the damage from the Vice, or before the Vice trigger happens. So that means he only has 4 cards in hand. So now he's going to exactly, that's what he does. So he's going to stack it in a way that the Disenchant happens first. So he has 4 cards when the Vice trigger happens. And then he doesn't take any damage. So we do see a Disenchant here on the Vice. Are we going to see a counterspell? Even if you counter this away, then Oliver still lives, right? Because he now has 4 in hand. Crazy situation here. Yep, so the Black Vice goes. I think this is a good decision by Nicholas. You know, if I would have had a counterspell, I don't think I would have countered this away. But look at that hand of Oliver. It's not that good. I mean, he's got, what, a Mox, 3 lands, and what's that other card there? He's going to attack here in response. We see the activation of the orb. Oh, it misses! Oh, it misses the flip! Oh, this is bad news. Nicholas, what are you doing, man? There we see a strip. Oh, is this missed flip going to be crucial? Oh, this is so bad. Oh, man. I'm not quite sure why he's now on 1. I believe he should be on 2, but Maybe I missed something, but this is crazy. He's on 1. Is he going to lose this? Really? He was so close. But close is not enough, of course. Okay, we do see a Suchi passing to the turn, but wow, that missed flip. Oh my goodness. Oh, and there's a Chaos Orb. There's a Chaos Orb. Oh, can he resolve this? There we see Chaos Orb. Counterspell, please. There's the counterspell. And of course, I'm not against Oliver, don't get me wrong, but I just want to see a game 3 here. This is so exciting to see these two decks going face to face. They're so close, both of the decks. And this is good news for Nicholas because he can attack, forcing Oliver to block here. Exactly, he has to block or else he dies. So now the factory is gone. There's another factory. Okay, so it's looking very good for Nicholas. But if Oliver can find some direct damage from the top, it's a balance here. Okay, balance is not going to cut it though. Kind of feel like he has to play it out. Has to go for the balance play to get rid of the Suchi, but yeah, picks up the card. Not even going to try because he knows that Nicholas also has that Mishra's Factory. So Nicholas winning a game number 2. And that makes me very happy. And I think you're happy too because it means that we are going to go to an all-decisive game number 3. Game number 3. Here we go. And here we see the hand. Ooh, pretty nice hand of Nicholas there. I think I saw an Ancestral Recall. Oh, but look at this opener by Oliver. Starting with the Library of Alexandria. Yeah, that is tough for Nicholas. Has to deal with that. Remember, he does have that Ancestral Recall in hand, though. So that's quite nice. Can pass a turn and maybe on upkeep play that Ancestral if he wants to. Maybe he's thinking about doing it now. Okay, he's going to go for the Ancestral now. He's going to draw 3 cards. Perhaps he's got some burn in hand that he can offload straight away. I'm sure he doesn't want to just discard cards here. So played out the Ancestral. Let's see what he can do next. Gonna tap exact. It's got some burn. Chain Lightning here, so 17. Ideally here for Nicholas would have been a Black Vice. But maybe he boarded that out because he's no longer on the play but on the draw. Olivier playing out a Tundra and a Soul Ring. Passes the turn. Nicholas finding a Suchi there from the top. Going to tap 2 more. Okay, there's Chaos Orb. Doesn't have... Oh, that's unfortunate. Doesn't have land. If he had land, he could have gone play Chaos Orb, flip on Loa, because now Oliver has an option. I believe he's got a Disenchant in hand. So probably going to see a Disenchant here. Yeah, going to tap. There's the Disenchant. Oh, not going to go for the Chaos Orb. I like this. What an original play. Realizing that Nicholas missed a land drop. So he's like, you know what? If you flip and you hit my Loa now, which you still should do, Nicholas, by the way, in my opinion, it doesn't matter that much. Because I've got a handful of cards and you don't have any land. So he is going to flip. Is he going to hit now? Missed before. Oh, again a miss. Come on, Nicholas. Come on, man. You're breaking in here, man. Breaking my... Well, you know what I want to say. Oh, this is so unfortunate. Even if that flip would have hit, it would have been really difficult for Nicholas here. And again, I'm loving the play from Oliver disenchanting the Mox Sapphire here. I think it's so good. Recognizing that you're that far ahead, you know, that it's actually not that big of a deal, that you'd rather have keep Nicholas low on mana. There's the attack for 2, by the way, and a Vice and a land. So 2 damage for Nicholas. Going to drop to 18. But yeah, this missed flip. That is so unfortunate. But yeah, it is what it is. It's going to drop you to 17. And then take 3 points. Okay. Not quite sure if that's all accurate. But anyway, he's on 15. Both players seem to agree. There's a discard of a Suchi. Yeah, this is unfortunate. You always hope for a spectacular game number 3. But it looks like we're not getting it. And it looks like Oliver is going to qualify here for the finals. Is he going to animate here, swing in for 2, put Nicholas on 13? Another line could be to just play out that Serendip. He's going to animate here, exactly. Then he can animate for 2 and then play out the Serendip in his second main. That's exactly what he does. Passes the turn. And remember, he's got a Vice who's going to take some damage. There we do see a Red Elemental Blast taking care of the Serendip. So that means 2 points of damage instead of 3. Nicholas dropping to 11, but really needs to start drawing mana here, preferably a Black Lotus, and just do a lot of crazy stuff to get back into this. But look at that, just passing the turn. Yeah, this is so tough for Nicholas. And to be honest, I think this match really deserved a spectacular ending, but we're not going to get it. There's the attack for 2. There's a bolt, though. So Nicholas is doing his best. Oliver counting the cards here. I guess now he's got 7 exactly, going to 8. Going to tap 4. We're going to see a Suchi. No, double Atog here, hitting the board. Now remember, Nicholas is playing with a playset of those Atogs. Sorry, Oliver is playing with a playset of those Atogs. Nicholas is not playing with any Atogs in his deck. Going to play out here the Mox Jet and passes the turn. There's another Serendip found. More cards here for Oliver. There are some Mox in here. Yeah, I think he can. Can he already win it here? Also has some burn in hand. Attacking here with the Atogs. 2 Atogs there into the red zone. Can start sacking some mana to it. It's going to tap 2. Going to deal 4. So that'll put him on 5 or not. There's a Shatter though. There's another one. Yeah, that's already a win. Had the double Psionic Blast in hand. And it is what it is. And I have to say, this was a very spectacular match. I mean, game 1 and game 2 were just superb. And yeah, game 3, it happens. But Nicholas, compliments to you, man. You had a great run at this tournament. Made it all the way to the semifinals. Almost to the finals. And also, of course, a big congratulations to Oliver making it to the finals again. He is the defending champion. And he's also going to the finals. And then he's going to play against this deck. Here we see both decks. And you can, of course, see that match right here on Timmy Talks. If you want to make sure that you don't miss that match, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell, because then you will be notified whenever I post new content on Timmy Talks. Talking about that, before you go, please take a moment to like, share, and comment on this video. All these things are free and really help the channel move forward. And if you want to help Timmy Talks move forward even further, then you can also become a patron of the show. Check out patreon.com/Timmy Talks for all the information.
What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning, putting in the longboat until he's sober, putting in the longboat until he's sober, putting in the longboat until he's sober. Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Rises early in the morning. Pull out the plug and wet him all over. Pull out the plug and wet him all over. Pull out the plug and wet him all over. Early in the morning. Way hey up she rises. Way hey up she rises. Way hey up she rises early in the morning. What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Put in the scouts to the husband's son. Put in the scouts to the husband's son. Put in the scouts to the husband's son. Early in the morning, way hey up she rises, way hey up she rises, way hey up she rises early in the morning.
Igitus figitus sumba kazee.